It's here, folks. 2026 marks the first time in 5 years that Team Cherry has gone back and updated the original Hollow Knight. They're bringing a brief but welcomed set of fixes, quality of life improvements, and updates to old features. In this video, you'll be getting all the most important features from the patch notes, along with 4 secret changes that Team Cherry has made without actually telling us. Without further ado, these are all the major changes in the February 2026 Hollow Knight update. First off, Salubra's Blessing will now actually deactivate after you reach max soul. This is a wonderful change for those of us who prefer the giggle-free peace and quiet. It's a small adjustment, but it just fits so well into the game that in a few years, no one will remember it didn't used to work like this. Then we have 2 changes related to the inventory. First, map panning is now apparently smoother. I think that's when you're dragging around the map in the zoomed in state, but I'm not entirely sure. I had a hard time telling the difference between the pre and post patch. The only thing I noticed is a change in the way apostrophes appear on the map. Strange. Second, the game will now pause while you have the inventory menus open, preventing you from being attacked as you're trying to navigate them. I don't have a strong feeling on these changes, but in any case, it's nice to see some more overlap between Hollow Knight and Silksong. The next few changes involve specific late-game boss fights and Godhome. I'll give you a chance to skip this section now if you don't want spoilers related to the very late game. Alright, first up, Grey Prince Sot will no longer fly quite as high into the air when staggered. On screen you're seeing a comparison between the pre- and post-patch stagger heights. I think this is a spectacular change, and here's why. What Team Cherry are doing by reducing Grey Prince Sot's stagger height is addressing one of Hollow Knight's core issues: untelegraphed attacks. It used to be, and this will hopefully no longer be the case, that you could be pogoing on Grey Prince Sot, and then when you staggered him, he'd fly up and instantly damage you. You wouldn't have a chance to get out of the way. The attack, so to speak, was completely untelegraphed. It still technically is untelegraphed, but now it should be almost impossible to accidentally get hit by. I haven't yet extensively tested to what degree this change has been successful in reducing accidental hits, but here's the funny thing: I don't really care. It doesn't matter that much to me whether Team Cherry got the new height just right during this patch. What matters is that they actually tried to fix it. It shows that they care about this specific issue, what I refer to in this video as the repositioning problem, and in this one as lackluster telegraphing. I am genuinely surprised that Team Cherry has deemed this issue worth fixing, given the high number of untelegraphed attacks they allow in other contexts. Maybe they haven't realized it yet, but this small change, this single line of text in a patch note, is an admission that untelegraphed attacks are not fun to play around. That the player should be given the option to respond to incoming attacks instead of being forced to take unavoidable damage. Now, there's a good chance Team Cherry haven't thought that deeply about this issue. But if they were to take this change to its logical conclusion, I think that conclusion would demand that every attack be telegraphed. And that bosses randomly jumping or walking into you is not good game design. Apologies, looks like I got sidetracked there for a moment. The other boss that got changed is Sly. If you haven't already seen the patch notes, try to guess what they changed. It's one of his most glaring issues. That's right, they fixed the great/hitbox. Because the update is so new, I can't actually mod the game to show you the new hitbox yet, but I can show you the old one and then a clip of me clearly standing inside it without getting hit. Here is the old hitbox. Look at that thing. Man, I can't believe it took them 7.5 years to fix this monstrosity. It's so unaligned it physically hurts. Now here's me getting very up close and personal with Sly while he does this attack. Would you look at that? Comparing the 2 images, it's pretty obvious that on the old patch, I wouldn't have been able to get so close without getting hit. Another very welcome change. There has also been a visual update to one of the Pantheon mechanics. The shell binding now has an updated texture. I don't know the rationale behind this change, but my guess would be that this new texture is harder to mistake for an actual mask. The old icon was pretty much just a recolor of the normal mask, making them somewhat difficult to tell apart in the heat of battle. The old icon was cool in its own way, but I always did think it looked perhaps a little too cool for not actually being a mask. Another small but welcome change. Given how much I love talking about Hollow Knight and Silksong oversights, I was very surprised to learn about the existence of an oversight through a patch note. Luckily, the patch notes dropped sometime before the actual update, which is how I managed to collect all of this pre-patch footage for the video. The oversight in question wasn't a small one either, 'twas a soft lock in City of Tears. All you'd have to do is walk into this room where a Great Husk Sentry is guarding a grub. Then you'd fire off all your Shade Soul charges at the guard, making sure to stay right next to the entrance. Once he had been defeated, you'd walk into the room proper and watch the gate slam behind you, never to reopen again since the trigger was tied to the guard dying, and that already happened. You'd be stuck in here forever, faced with the moral dilemma of freeing the grub and losing your only company or keeping him locked up for your entertainment. How come you folks never told me about this? What a fun oversight. So how was it fixed? Well, now the gate closes as soon as you aggravate the guard, meaning you won't be able to put him down before locking yourself inside. A bit of an awkward fix, to be honest, since you can technically lock yourself outside the room accidentally and be forced to re-enter, but hey, it's better than a soft lock. Also, I don't know if this was in the game before, but you can apparently stand on the side of the wall above the gate, perfectly out of reach of the guard's attacks. Oh, Hollow Knight, you truly are a special creature. On the topic of newly introduced bugs, I encountered this UI issue while changing the size of my HUD. The video options were permanently covering the screen, disrupting regular menu navigation as well as gameplay. The only way I could fix it without quitting the game was to re-enter the video options. I wouldn't be too surprised if we saw a hotfix in the coming days. A pretty fun glitch though. You know, even when I try to make a normal video, these dang oversights they sneak into somehow they find a way in. Apparently, all references in Soat's dialogue to eyes have been removed. Pretty interesting change. I will leave a link to this Reddit post down below if you want to hear what some people have to say about it. Now here's a fun one. Team Cherry decided it was time to fix a visual oversight that relates all the way back to before the game was released. Way back in the Kickstarter days, all three dreamers were depicted wearing the same mask. Later, each dreamer was given a unique mask, with Monemon the teacher carrying the original. However, not every reference to these old masks was updated, and famously, these three masks and Crossroads were never given their unique dreamer look, still resembling Monemon the teacher all these years later. So guess what the mad lads at Team Cherry did? They actually went back and fixed this issue, giving each dreamer its proper look. There's something so funny to me about this being done 9 years after release. Oh, whoops, did we forget to change that? Ari, you got a minute? It's pretty awesome they fixed it, just so no one has to be more confused about the lore than absolutely necessary. And now, finally, the last major bug fixed in this patch. Or should I say, the last major oversight. In the most popular video of my most popular series about major Hollow Knight oversights, the very first oversight shown is this one. Nothing seems to be wrong with this room. Well, exit and re-enter just once and voila! You can now pogo on the air itself. Pure magic. Although the cocoon's hitbox is removed when you break it, once you leave the room and come back, the game doesn't properly check whether or not the cocoon has already been destroyed, and so you get this ghost hitbox which remains for the rest of your playthrough. Pretty weird. So guess what? They fixed it. They actually fixed the Hive Bench oversight. the major Hollow Knight oversight to truly kickstart that entire series. I didn't find the oversight myself, so I don't want to take any credit for this being fixed. But do I think the video led to the change? Do I think Team Cherry religiously watch major Hollow Knight oversights? Abso-freaking-lutely I do. I think it's cool that Team Cherry are still keeping an eye on the original Hollow Knight, and it's always super interesting to see what they think is worth going back and changing. I have no intention of getting my hopes up about what we'll see in the future, but I do pray for more changes related to fairness and overall game feel. We'll just have to see, I suppose. I'm Holland, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.